Tonight, you don't have to hold anything together. You don't have to solve, to plan, or to be on. You are here at the soft edge of the night, and for a little while, the only thing the world asks of you is to rest. Feel where your body is touching the bed. The way the mattress rises up to meet you, supporting your weight, without question, without condition. Let your shoulders drop just a little. Notice if your jaw is tight, and if it is, you can let it loosen, letting your tongue fall softly from the roof of your mouth. If it feels comfortable, allow your eyes to become heavy or close them completely. Imagine the whole room around you turning its brightness down, the way a city grows quieter as night settles over its rooftops. Take a slow breath in through your nose and a longer, softer breath out. Again, gently breathing in as if you're breathing in calm, and breathing out as if the air is carrying away the noise of the day. There is nowhere you have to be right now, nothing you have to achieve. For these next quiet moments, life can move without your supervision. You have done enough for today. If you like, you can imagine yourself standing by a window or on a small balcony, or perhaps in a quiet backyard you once loved. The night air is cool and kind against your skin. Somewhere far away, a city may still be awake, but here, where you are, the world is beginning to exhale. Above you, the sky stretches wide, a deep, velvety darkness, sprinkled with soft points of light. When was the last time you looked up at the night sky and felt at peace? Not checking the weather, not rushing from car to doorway, not hurrying home from a long day, just standing, breathing, letting your gaze rest on a sky that has watched over every year of your life. Maybe it was when you were younger, on a night when the power went out and the stars suddenly appeared in a clear, silver chorus. Or maybe it was on a quiet trip, standing near the ocean, listening to the waves, while the sky hung overhead like a dark, patient dome. Tonight's story is an invitation to return to that feeling, not by leaving your room, not by traveling anywhere, but by softening into the quiet that's already here. You don't need special knowledge. You don't need to remember facts. You don't need to follow every detail. All you need is a simple willingness to let your mind drift, to let your breathing slow, and to allow the wonders of life on earth to wrap around you like a soft, familiar blanket. Before we drift deeper into tonight's gentle journey, remember to subscribe to Cozy Sleep Story. Here, you'll always find peaceful stories that soothe the heart and quiet the mind. Where are you listening from tonight? Leave a comment. Your presence adds warmth to this quiet corner of the night. Now imagine that instead of looking out at the night, you are slowly beginning to look into it, into the quiet, patient world that keeps living even when you are too busy to notice. Tonight, we're not leaving this planet. We're not racing through distant galaxies or chasing comets across the sky. Tonight, we are staying right here on Earth, but we're going to see it the way we sometimes forget to see it, as a small, shining cradle of life filled with gentle miracles that unfold whether anyone is watching or not. You might picture yourself lying on soft grass, the earth firm and cool beneath your back. The air smells faintly of leaves, of soil after a rain, of something green and alive. Above you, branches sway slowly, their silhouettes outlined against a deep, dark sky. Somewhere nearby, you hear water, maybe the hush of waves reaching for the shore again and again, or the soft murmur of a river moving over worn stones. Every sound is slow, every movement is gentle. Nothing startles, nothing demands. In this quiet place, you begin to remember that Earth is not just a location, it is a living story, billions of years long, told in the language of oceans, forests, mountains, and tiny, unseen creatures doing their work in the dark. Right now, even as you lie here, there is a jellyfish somewhere far beneath the surface of the sea, drifting like a soft lantern through blue-black water, quietly beginning its life over again. There is a forest where trees are sharing food through hidden threads of fungal lace, sending warnings and nourishment beneath the soil like an old, wise family passing messages along a secret line. There is a patch of desert holding tiny seeds that have been waiting not just for years, but for decades, perhaps centuries, resting in patient sleep until rain comes and the time to wake is finally gentle enough. There is a tiny creature, smaller than a grain of sand, curled into itself, waiting out bitter cold, searing heat, vacuum, radiation, holding on quietly until conditions soften and it can return to the simple act of living. There is a vast forest of roots and trunks, a single giant organism named Pando, inhaling and exhaling through leaves and bark, breathing slowly through tens of thousands of stems that look like separate trees but are in fact one patient being, older than every city you have ever known. And deep in the ocean, long, low songs are moving through the water. Whale voices traveling from one side of the world to the other, a lullaby older than your name, older than your language, washing through the dark like a slow, underwater night wind. You don't have to remember any of this. You don't have to hold on to the names or the details. All you need is this feeling. The earth is quietly miraculous. Even when you are tired, even when your day felt small or heavy or ordinary. As you lie here, supported by the bed, you might imagine that your body is part of this same story, because it is. Your bones were once part of ancient stars. The iron that carries oxygen in your blood was forged in explosions older than the earth itself. Inside you, trillions of tiny beings are working together. Bacteria, cells, invisible helpers who don't know your name but keep you alive with a care that never sleeps. You are not separate from the quiet miracles of this planet. You are one of them. For tonight, you don't need to do anything with that information. You don't have to be grateful or think positive or transform your life. You can simply let it rest beside you like a folded blanket. There if you want it, soft, available, not demanding. If tonight's story reminds you of a small, beautiful memory, maybe the way sunlight once moved through leaves, or the sound of rain against your childhood window, you can tuck that memory close to your heart. If you wish, you can share it one day with someone else who needs a quiet night. But for now, you don't have to share anything. You don't have to respond to anyone. You don't have to answer messages or make decisions. This is your pause, a small patch of stillness in a loud, rushing world. Feel your breath again. In, soft and unforced. Out, longer, a little slower than before. With each exhale, imagine the day slipping a little farther away, like footprints being smoothed by a slow, incoming tide. The story is only just beginning, but you don't need to stay sharp for it. In the parts to come, we'll wander gently through oceans that glow like starlight, forests that whisper underground, creatures that sleep for years and then wake as if no time has passed, and the quiet, luminous truth that you, too, are allowed to rest, to pause, to begin again. For now, you are lying safely where you are, held by the earth, held by your own breath, held by a story that will keep moving even if you drift into sleep before it ends. And that is perfectly okay. When you are ready, we will step softly into the first of those quiet miracles. But you don't have to move yet. You can stay right here, breathing slowly, while the night leans in around you like a calm, familiar friend. Out beyond the last emails of the day, beyond the glow of screens and the soft hum of late traffic, the earth is exhaling. If you could step outside your life for a moment and drift high above the planet, you would see it not as a flat map of obligations, but as a round, quiet lantern hanging in the dark. Blue, white, and streaked with shadow, it turns slowly, patiently, without ever asking you to keep up. From a distance, night curls gently around half the world. City lights glitter like scattered embers, thin and delicate compared to the deep, steady glow of the atmosphere. On the dark side of the planet, storms move like slow, breathing shapes, their clouds lit from within by distant flashes you cannot hear. Yet even in the deepest patches of night, Earth is never truly still. Oceans are folding over themselves in long, calm waves. Forests are exchanging whispers through roots and threads hidden in the soil. Tiny currents of air slip between mountains, through streets and past windows, carrying the faintest traces of rain, salt, pine, and distant fires. You are part of that breathing. Every gentle rise and fall of your chest is another small tide upon this world, another wave on a shoreline of skin and bone. As you rest here, the story of tonight's journey begins to widen. Imagine the view slowly lowering, drifting down from space to a coastline at night. The sky is a deep, almost endless blue-black. The moon hangs low and soft, its light stretching across the surface of the sea in a trembling silver path. The beach is quiet. No voices, no footsteps, only the rhythmic hush of water arriving and departing, over and over again. Each wave folds into the next with the kind of patience most of us forget is possible. You walk only in your imagination now along the edge of the water. The sand is cool beneath your bare feet. The breeze tastes faintly of salt and something older than language. For a few moments, you do nothing but listen. You allow the sound of the ocean to smooth the sharp edges of your thoughts, the way water smooths stones over many years. Your breathing begins to match the rhythm of the waves, in and out, forward and back. Then on a stretch of sand where the shoreline curves, something begins to glow. It starts faintly, a soft blue shimmer where a wave breaks and slides up the beach. The foam looks as if someone has stirred moonlight into it. Then another wave arrives, and this time the glow is brighter, as though the ocean has decided to answer the sky. With each new wave, the water lights up in a gentle, electric blue. Tiny sparks scatter where your feet touch the wet sand, as if stars have fallen and decided to live for a while in the shallow surf. This is bioluminescence, countless microscopic organisms stirred by motion, answering contact with light. They do not know your name. They do not know you walked here after a long, complicated day, but they respond quietly and reliably, turning each step you take along the shore into a trail of soft fire. You do not need to remember the science, you do not need to pronounce the names. It is enough to know that in some places on this planet, the sea glows when touched, as if to remind us that even the darkest waters can find a way to shine. Stand here a little longer in your mind. Watch the gentle waves roll in, each one a breath of the ocean, each one bringing a fleeting line of blue-white light to the shore before fading back into darkness. As you watch, notice how your own thoughts are moving. Maybe they arrive in small waves too, memories of today, lists for tomorrow, worries, questions. You can let them come, but like the glowing water, you can also let them fade. They light up for a moment, then dissolve into the wider sea of your a very slow, very quiet book. The sound of waves softens and begins to dissolve. In its place, you begin to hear the faint rustle of leaves like long sighs passing from branch to branch. You are now standing at the edge of a night forest. The air is cooler here, touched by the scent of moss and bark. Above, the canopy is thick. Only a few threads of starlight manage to slip through and settle on the forest floor. The ground under your feet is soft, layered with leaves that have fallen and returned to the soil over many years. At first glance, the forest seems still. Trees stand like tall, silent figures. Their trunks rise in strong, steady lines, their branches reaching out and up. But if you look a little deeper, if you imagine the world just below the surface, you begin to sense a quiet conversation. Beneath the soil, a network of delicate fungal threads connects root to root, tree to tree. Through this hidden web, messages move slowly, carried in scents and signals that travel farther than any single branch could reach. One tree, damaged by insects, releases a warning. Nearby trees receive it and begin to strengthen their own defenses, building chemical shields within their leaves. Another tree, standing in a patch of poorer soil, is quietly fed by its neighbors through the shared network, receiving more nutrients than it could gather alone. They are not kind in the way humans are kind. They do not think in words or stories. Yet something in this exchange feels deeply familiar. A community sharing resources, sending alarms, adjusting, supporting, surviving together. If you have ever felt alone with your thoughts at night, you might remember this forest. Even when we cannot see it, connection is often happening beneath the surface. As you breathe slowly in this imagined woodland, picture faint lines of light tracing the underground network. They glow softly like threads of moonlight woven through the soil, showing how far the forest's quiet conversation extends. You might think of the people in your own life, the ones nearby, the ones far away, the ones you only speak to once in a while. Invisible lines exist there too. Not as constant as fungal threads, not as perfect, but real enough to carry words, comfort, understanding, and sometimes just the knowledge that you are not the only one awake under this wide sky. Here, in this forest, you are safe. You are only visiting in your mind, and you can leave whenever you choose. For now, you are simply a quiet presence among many older, slower forms of life. If you listen closely, the night sounds like a soft, layered harmony. The distant call of an owl, the gentle drip of water, the almost inaudible creak of wood adjusting to the cool air. Everything moves a little, breathes a little, changes just enough. The forest has been standing in one form or another since long before you were born. It will continue after you fall asleep tonight. You are allowed to rest, knowing that not everything depends on your effort. Somewhere in this world, in our great groves like Pando, vast root systems that have cloned themselves into thousands of trunks have been breathing in and out for tens of thousands of years. Their leaves have opened to countless dawns, shivered under countless moons. Whole generations of human stories have risen and fallen while these living networks continued to simply exist. You do not need to hold time the way they do. You only need to hold this moment, and even that gently. Take another slow breath, feeling the air fill your lungs, and let it go without rushing. As you exhale, imagine your worries sinking down into the soil for a while, to be held by the patient, listening forest. You are not required to be ancient or unshakable. You are allowed to be tired, changing, in progress. Tonight, the earth will keep breathing for you. As the forest's quiet breath settles around around you, the scene begins to soften again, not ending, not disappearing, just gently shifting, the way a dream changes shape without ever feeling abrupt. You are still surrounded by night, still held by darkness that comforts rather than frightens, but the air grows cooler, heavier with moisture, as though a body of water is waiting somewhere nearby. The sound comes first, a low, distant hum, like something ancient, stretching across an endless room. It is deep enough to feel in your ribs, soft enough not to disturb your sleepiness. It's the voice of a whale, singing somewhere far beneath the ocean's surface. The forest fades, its canopy dissolving into blue shadow. The ground beneath your feet becomes sand again. Not the bright sand of daytime beaches, but a darker, cooler stretch, illuminated only by starlight. You are now standing at the edge of the open sea. But this time, instead of glowing waves washing onto the shore, we will drift beneath them. Take a slow breath in, and as you breathe out, imagine yourself gliding gently downward, as though the ocean is inviting you to explore its night-lit interior. There is no fear here, only calm and quiet, and an ancient blue stillness that feels like memory. As you descend, you notice the water growing darker, but not empty. Tiny particles drift like snow, slow and weightless, each one catching what little light remains. The deeper you go, the more the world softens. Sound becomes rounder, slower, as if time itself has decided to move at the rhythm of your breath. And then, in the dim distance, a shape begins to appear. Long, graceful, moving with a patience most creatures never learn. A whale glides into view. Its enormous body moves with such softness that it looks like a floating hill caught in a slow underwater breeze. You don't need to know what kind of whale it is. Humpback, blue, fin. None of that matters here. Tonight, it is simply one of Earth's oldest singers. The hum you heard earlier builds again, vibrating through the water around you. It sounds like the planet itself trying to soothe something inside you. The whale passes nearby, unhurried, untroubled by your presence. Its eye, dark, round, reflective, glances your way for a brief moment. There is no judgment in it, only the vast calm of a creature that has navigated oceans longer than your entire family line has walked the earth. And just as it came, it drifts away into the blue. You listen until the song fades, blending back into the ocean's quiet pulse. For a moment, you simply float, weightless, held by water that doesn't ask you to be anything other than here. As the whale's song thins into silence, a softer glow begins to bloom below you. A faint, shifting light like a lantern swaying in slow motion. You swim gently closer, and there, unfolding like a dream made of light, is a bloom of jellyfish. Dozens of them moving with perfect tenderness, their bells pulsing in a slow, steady rhythm like breathing. Each one glows faintly, bluish, lavender, sometimes a soft green, as if the night itself is gently lighting their bodies from within. One of them drifts closer. Its delicate tendrils trail behind like threads of silk carried by a patient river. There is something mesmerizing about the way these creatures move. Without rushing, without resisting, simply following the currents that cradle them. Among them, you notice one jellyfish, smaller than the rest, almost fragile, yet glowing a little brighter, as if it knows a secret that the others have forgotten. This is Turritopsis dohrnii, the so-called immortal jellyfish, a creature capable of resetting its age. When damaged, or when the conditions grow too harsh, it slips backward in time, transforming its adult cells into younger ones, starting again without losing its essence. It is life finding a quiet loophole, not to escape hardship, but to continue softly on its own terms. Watching it, you might feel something inside you exhale. A reminder that starting over does not erase who you've been. It simply allows you to return to a softer place within yourself, a place that still wants to grow. You drift through the bloom, jellyfish floating around you like lanterns released on a slow-moving river. Every pulse of their bodies is steady, rhythmic, almost hypnotic. You feel your heartbeat matching their pace, slowing, regulating itself to the gentle motions of the sea. You don't need to understand the biology or the chemistry of their glow. All you need is the way this light makes you feel. Calm, connected, supported by a world that continues to shimmer even in its darkest depths. Eventually the glow dims as the jellyfish drift away, following the invisible currents that carry them onward. You rise with the water, slowly ascending, as though the sea itself is lifting you closer to the surface. The darkness grows lighter, shifting once again into liquid shades of blue. When you break the surface, you find yourself not in open water, but in a calm estuary, a place where river and ocean meet and mix and breathe together. Tall grasses sway in the faint night breeze. Fireflies flicker along the shore like tiny stars rehearsing for their place in the sky. The air is warm here, slightly humid, carrying the earthy scent of fresh water merging with salt. You hear the soft ripple of water rolling over smooth stones. You hear insects playing their usual night symphony, a patient, cyclical music that has existed longer than nearly every human tradition. And then you notice something at the water's edge, a cluster of seeds resting in the shallow mud. Some are new, lightweight, just released by nearby plants. Others are ancient, thick, dark, their shells hardened by years of waiting. Some seeds can sleep for hundreds, even thousands of years, waiting for the right rain, the right temperature, the right softness in the soil, waiting for the world to tell them, very quietly, that it is finally safe to begin again. You crouch beside them in your mind, feeling a sense of reverence for their patience. So much of the world rushes forward, fast decisions, instant messages, constant updates, but the seeds remind you that life also thrives in slowness, in waiting, in knowing that not every moment is meant for action. Some moments are simply meant for gathering strength in the dark. You watch the seeds for a while, feeling their quiet confidence, their ancient calm. And as you watch, a thought flickers gently. Maybe you are allowed to wait too. Not every dream has to bloom right now. Not every question needs an answer tonight. Some parts of you can rest in the dark until the time is right. The estuary grows quieter, the fireflies dim, the grasses fall still. You take a breath, deep and slow, and the air feels a little easier in your lungs. Your journey tonight has taken you from glowing oceans to underwater lanterns, to seeds waiting centuries for their moment to live. Every part of it is a reminder of something simple and soft and true. Life moves at more than one speed, and you are allowed to choose the gentler one when you need it. Hold that thought as the scene begins to soften again, fading into the next quiet wonder waiting for you. The estuary quiets, its fireflies dimming like lanterns gently covered by warm palms. The grasses bow slightly in the night wind, and that soft, rippling breath of the world begins to shift again. You don't feel disoriented. The transitions tonight are like drifting, light, slow, effortless, as though your mind is being carried along a gentle river that knows every turn long before you reach it. The shoreline fades, the hush of water becomes distant, and in its place another sound begins to form. A slow, delicate rustle, not leaves, not wind, something finer, more intricate, like countless tiny threads moving beneath the surface of the earth. You look down, not with your eyes, but with the quiet vision of imagination, and find yourself walking into a vast meadow at twilight. The sky above is a muted lavender blue, still holding the last traces of day. Stars hover patiently, waiting for the darkness to deepen before stepping fully into view. In the meadow, everything feels tender. Grasses bend under the weight of night dew. Small white flowers glow faintly in the dim light. A breeze moves through them, soft as a sigh. You follow a narrow path that leads toward a line of trees in the distance. These are not the whispering trees of the earlier forest. These are taller, older. Their trunks wide, their roots thick and knotted like the hands of someone who has lived through many seasons. And these trees hold a quiet secret. When you reach the first one, you place your hand on the rough bark. It is cool to the touch, alive beneath your palm, but then a sensation, faint, almost like a heartbeat, a slow, rhythmic thrum moving through the trunk. You pause, listen, feel. The tree is breathing, not in the way you breathe, not lungs or ribs or air, but through the opening and closing of microscopic pores on its leaves, through the rise and fall of water drawn upward from deep in the soil. Every tree in the meadow is breathing with it, a slow, steady symphony you were never meant to hear, but can sense now when your mind is quiet enough. As you stand among them, the thrum deepens, not louder, just fuller, as though the entire grove is remembering something ancient and allowing you to overhear it. A story of time, of endurance, of seasons folding into one another for centuries. You walk further into the grove. The meadow behind you blurs, becoming a distant wash of moonlit color. The deeper you go, the more the trees seem to lean inward, their branches curving overhead, forming an archway. A natural cathedral. The air cools, the ground softens, and beneath your feet you begin to sense an invisible network. Threads of connection running from tree to tree like neural pathways in an ancient wooden brain. You are stepping into Pando, a forest that is actually one living organism, 40,000 trunks, all sharing one root system, all part of the same being. It has been alive for tens of thousands of years, long before the first cities, long before the first alphabets, long before anything you might call history. It has lived through fire, through drought, through frost. It has lost trunks and grown new ones. It has watched entire civilizations rise and fall and rise again. It is one of Earth's great memories, and tonight it is letting you rest within its presence. You sit, or imagine sitting, against one of its trunks. The bark presses gently into your back. The earth beneath you is warm, held by roots that have known thousands of dawns and thousands of moons. For a while, you do nothing. You simply let the forest breathe around you. Its rhythm is slow, ancient, patient, a rhythm that asks nothing, demands nothing, expects nothing. If your mind wanders, it can wander softly. If your thoughts drift, they can drift like petals on a stream. Here, in this deep-rooted place, you feel something begin to settle. Maybe it is your breath falling into a gentler pace. Maybe it is your heart loosening itself from the tight coil of the day. Or maybe it is the quiet recognition that you do not have to carry so much all at once. Even the oldest organisms on Earth lean on themselves, one trunk supporting another, one root feeding the next. A quiet, living reminder that endurance is rarely solitary. You run your fingertips along the bark. It's rough, but honest, a map of years written in ridges and grooves. If you press your ear to the trunk, you imagine you could hear the faint whisper of sap rising, water traveling upward, cells dividing, life moving slowly, softly, repeating a cycle that has not broken in millennia. You close your eyes. And in that darkness, a new image begins to form. Not trees, not roots, not branches, but veins, capillaries, the delicate rivers that move beneath your skin. Your body, too, is a forest of quiet processes. So breathing, pulsing, repairing, remembering. You realize that just like Pando, you are not one thing, but many things working together, billions of cells, each with its own purpose, its own timing, its own gentle intelligence. You do not command them, you do not remind them to function, and yet every night as you sleep, your body continues its quiet labor, restoring what needs restoring without asking for thanks. This thought eases something inside you. Something you may not have noticed had grown heavy. You are held by systems older and wiser than your conscious mind. You are not expected to be strong through willpower alone. Even the earth, with all its age and patience, rests, recycles, renews, and begins again. The breeze shifts, carrying with it a faint scent of petrichor, the smell that rises from ground when rain first touches dry soil. Clouds gather overhead, thickening in slow, soft movements. A few drops fall, cool, gentle, landing on your hands like small, waking thoughts. The rain deepens but remains tender, a curtain of silver threads falling through moonlight. It is not a storm. It is a cleansing, a resetting, a quiet reminder that the earth knows how to soothe itself and everything resting upon it. You stay beneath the canopy, protected, watching the rain bead along the edges of leaves. Each droplet catches the faintest light, glowing for a moment before falling into the soil, feeding the network below, strengthening the roots, continuing the long story Pando has carried for thousands of years. You breathe in deeply. The air feels cooler now, cleaner, as though the entire world has exhaled with you. And somewhere inside, you feel a soft shift, a small rebalancing, a quietness settling into places that were once tense. Tonight, you do not need to understand the lesson. You do not need to solve anything. You only need to rest here in the presence of something that remembers far more than you ever could and still remains calm. The rain slows, the clouds thin, and through the leaves you see a star, just one, shining through a break in the sky. A reminder that even the thickest clouds eventually part. The forest dims, the scene softens, and the next wonder begins to wait for you just beyond the edge of this breath. The rain softens until it becomes nothing more than a mist, clinging gently to the cool night air. Droplets slide down the trunks of ancient trees, disappearing into the soil, as though returning to a familiar home. The grove of Pando grows still again, not silent, but resting. The kind of rest that does not need darkness or sleep, only patience. You take a final slow breath beneath the canopy, feeling the coolness settle into your lungs. And when you exhale, the world begins once more to blur at the edges. Like ink touched by water, the forest fades outward, dissolving into a soft wash of blue and silver. There is no effort in this transition. You don't leave the forest, you simply drift, as though carried by a current that knows exactly where you need to go next. The air warms, the ground brightens, the world unfolds into a place where light behaves differently. You are standing on the edge of a wide, quiet valley under a clear night sky. Starlight settles across the earth in a pale, shimmering veil. The air feels charged, not with sound or movement, but with a gentle expectancy, as if the land beneath your feet is holding a secret it hasn't yet decided how to reveal. Then in the darkness ahead, something flickers, not a firefly, not a reflection, a faint pulse, a quiet glow from a small cluster of stones near the foot of a low hill. You walk toward them, slowly, as though each step is part of a ritual. The stones look ordinary at first, smooth, rounded, softly colored by the night. But then the light comes again, a delicate shimmer from the surface of one stone, followed by another, and another. It's not bright, not attention-seeking, more like a whisper of luminescence, a firefly's breath, a memory of daylight. You kneel down, touching your fingertips to the cool surface. The glow responds, pulsing faintly beneath your hand. It is biophotons, the tiny, immeasurable light generated by all living cells, a whisper of energy that every plant, every animal, every human carries quietly within them. You have this light too, right now, within your skin, your bones, your cells. You have always had it. It is not strong enough to see with the naked eye, but here, in this imagined valley where symbolic truths become visible, you can finally witness it. A small warmth stirs in your chest, not dramatic, not startling, just a soft recognition. You are luminous in ways you have forgotten. The stones brighten again, their glow traveling slowly like a spreading sigh. It moves across the ground, following veins of moss and delicate roots hidden beneath the surface. It is as though the earth itself is lighting up to reveal the pathways that life has carved into it. Pathways that existed long before you arrived and will continue long after you fall asleep tonight. You rise and follow the glow. It leads you gently up the slope of the valley to a ridge where wind meets sky. Here the view expands. The valley opens below, dotted with soft pools of light where stones, plants, and even the soil release their quiet photons. Above, the sky carries its own language of light, stars, distant and patient, scattered in elegant clusters. One of them seems brighter than the rest, shimmering with a soft golden hue. Then another, and another. You realize they are not brighter, just closer. The sky begins to shift again, a slow unfurling like curtains parting in a dream. And suddenly, the stars are not above you, they are around you. The valley falls away, the ground dissolving into cosmic dark, and you find yourself floating gently in a sea of starlight. There is no fear here, only awe, tempered into softness so your mind can rest even in the presence of something vast. A nebula drifts nearby, its clouds a gentle dance of blues, violets, and muted gold, not swirling, not rushing, just drifting as though following a slow, cosmic breath. The colors expand, then thin, then curl inward again, each movement unhurried, each shift calm and dreamlike. You move closer, weightless, watching light collect in places where gas becomes denser. Stars are forming here, not with explosion or violence, but with patience, pressure, time measured in millions of gentle years. A small star flickers, a newborn ember in the cradle of the nebula. Its glow is faint, but steady. And then the realization comes. Every star, every shimmer, every cosmic light began like this. As something soft, quiet, almost imperceptible. Just like the biophotons glowing inside your cells, just like the tiny seeds waiting in silence, just like the whale's song beginning as a vibration in the dark. Light and life, across all scales, share the same language. Begin softly, then grow. You drift a little closer to the newborn star. Its warmth is subtle, not heat, but presence, a kind of cosmic reassurance. And without words, the star seems to remind you, even the brightest things begin small. You let that settle into you, not as advice, not as instruction, just a gentle truth you can hold without effort. Slowly the nebula begins to thin again, its colors dissolving into darker blues. You feel yourself descending, not falling, not pulled, just drifting downward as though carried by a breeze that has traveled for eons. Stars stretch into lines as the world reorganizes itself around you. Darkness folds inward, shapes return, contours sharpen. When your surroundings settle, you are back on Earth. You stand on the open plain beneath a deep night sky. The constellations are clear, their lines more obvious than they ever appear in waking life. Orion's belt glints like 3 soft pinpricks on black velvet. Cassiopeia arches above in her celestial seat. The North Star glows with unwavering calm. It feels familiar, like stories whispered to you long ago. Stories of travelers guiding themselves by the stars when the world felt too big or too dark to navigate alone. You tilt your head upward, letting your gaze rest on a cluster of distant lights. The stars shimmer, and for a moment you picture them not as burning spheres of plasma, but as lanterns hung in the rafters of a cosmic home. Lanterns that have watched your entire life unfold. Lanterns that watched your ancestors' lives long before you existed. Lanterns that will continue shining long after your worries fade. You breathe gently, deep in that recognition. You are made of the same elements that formed these stars. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the carbon in your cells. All forged in the hearts of stars, older than imagination. The universe is not something you look at, it is something you come from. You are not observing the stars, you are remembering them. The night deepens, the stars soften, and your attention begins to settle inward again, toward your own quiet light. The biophotons, the gentle glow of living cells, the steady warmth of a body that has carried you through countless days. Without thinking, you place a hand on your chest. The beat there is slow, steady, reassuring. A reminder that even when your mind is tired, your body continues, quietly, faithfully, tirelessly, to take care of you. A soft truth surfaces. You are a world within a world, a quiet symphony humming beneath your skin. And in the vastness of that thought, your mind grows still, very still, held between the stars above and the living light within. This is where the next part of your journey begins, not outward, but inward, toward reflection and deep, drifting rest. The stars remain overhead, quiet, unwavering, a gentle constellation of reminders that you are held between the vastness above and the quiet light within. But as you stand in that stillness, something begins to shift deep in the landscape of your mind, not dramatically, not suddenly, just a soft rearranging like a long-forgotten drawer closing itself slowly, finally, after many years left ajar. You notice your heartbeat again, not loud, not urgent, just present, a small tide moving beneath your ribs. You place your hand on your chest a little more firmly, as if to acknowledge the gentle, faithful rhythm there. For a moment, you imagine the body not as a machine, but as a tide pool, water rising and falling, currents moving through channels, light shimmering in tiny pulses as your cells communicate in whispers. The beating of your heart matches the distant rhythm of ocean waves you heard earlier in the night. In. The tide rises. Out. The tide recedes. A rhythm older than language. Older than the names of stars. Older than the memories you carry and the ones you've let go. This is where reflection begins. Soft, slow, non-demanding. Not the kind of reflection that asks you to change, or evaluate, or solve, but the kind that happens when the mind is quiet enough to let truths float upward in their own time. The night air shifts, the stars blur slightly as though wrapped in thin veils of cloud, but the earth beneath your feet remains solid, supportive, steady. You begin walking, not directed, not purposeful, just wandering across an open plain lit by silver-blue moonlight. Each step feels lighter than the last. The ground seems to rise to meet your feet, soft and forgiving. As you walk, your thoughts stretch out, lengthening like shadows at dusk. And you begin to notice something. Not every thought tonight holds the same weight. Some are soft, some are weary, some carry traces of earlier versions of you that you don't quite resemble anymore. But none of them are tugging on you, they are drifting a few paces behind, like fallen leaves you've walked past without realizing. You don't need to pick them up, you don't need to categorize them. You are allowed to simply keep walking and let them stay where they fall. Ahead, in the distance, the plain begins to rise into a low hill with a smooth, rounded top. You climb slowly, easily, with the quiet strength of someone who has nothing to prove. When you reach the crest, the view opens into a wide expanse of night sky, bigger somehow than before. Clouds move in thin ribbons, barely perceptible. The moon hangs low, its light diffused, soft as though placed behind a veil. The world below is a mosaic of shadows, and yet from this hill you feel an unusual sense of familiarity, as if you've been here before in some earlier chapter of your life, in a dream, or a fleeting childhood memory, or a moment when the world felt just quiet enough to let you breathe fully. A gentle breeze moves past you. It doesn't chill. It comforts, carrying with it a faint scent that reminds you of night walks long ago when the world seemed less complicated. You sit down. The earth is cool beneath you, but not cold. It wraps around your shape as though it recognizes it. You tilt your head back and watch the sky. The constellations shift, not physically, but perceptually. You notice patterns you've never seen before. You connect stars without meaning to. You trace slow, imaginary lines between them until the sky feels like a map made just for you. And then, without effort, your thoughts begin to soften. Not disappear, just soften, as if they've been dipped in warm water until their edges blur. You think of time, not as a schedule, not as deadlines or years slipping by, but as a river. A very slow, very gentle river that has carried you through moments you didn't realize were shaping you. Moments of rest, moments of confusion, moments of unexpected beauty, moments that felt unimportant then but glow softly now when held in memory. You realize that much of life is not a story of dramatic turning points, but of quiet adjustments. Breaths taken when things were too heavy, small decisions that nudged you towards someone kinder, or wiser, or more patient. Your journey, like the ecosystems of the earth, has been shaped by countless gentle forces. And just as mountains are carved by winds so soft they seem meaningless, you too have been shaped by moments you once overlooked. A thought comes, not spoken, but felt. You do not have to rush to become anything. You breathe in slowly. Exhale even slower. You look at your hands resting loosely in your lap. Hands that have carried bags, held steering wheels, opened doors, fixed small problems, soothed loved ones, wiped tears you never told anyone about. Hands that have built quiet miracles of their own. You let them rest. You let everything rest. The sky above you begins to glow, with a faint, shifting light. Not sunrise, not moonlight, but something softer, more internal. The stars seem to move closer, not physically, but emotionally. They feel less like distant suns and more like companions, each one holding a memory of some earlier version of you who once looked up, hoping for a sense of direction. And you realize you have never been truly alone while looking at the night sky. The earth turns, but gently. The stars shift, but patiently. Your life changes, but often quietly. And somehow, in this moment, that seems enough. A wave of calm moves through your body. Not dramatically, but like the warmth of a soft blanket settling across your shoulders. Your breath deepens. Your chest loosens. Your thoughts move like slow clouds with nowhere urgent to be. You lie back on the hill, letting your body melt into the shape the earth offers. The ground holds you with ancient tenderness. You look up again, and this time the sky feels closer still. A dome of soft light. A quiet reminder that you are part of a story much larger and much gentler than the one you carry day to day. For now, that story asks nothing of you except presence, except rest, except breath. You inhale slowly, fully. You exhale softly, completely. The night seems to breathe with you. A soft reflection arises, the clearest, gentlest one yet. You do not have to hold everything all at once. You only need to be here, breathing for this one quiet moment, and that is enough. The hill, the stars, the night all begin to soften, growing dimmer as the next part of your journey moves quietly toward you, like a gentle tide returning. You feel the hill beneath you, dissolving, not vanishing, just softening, as though the ground itself is letting go of its form so you can drift a little deeper into the night. The stars blur, pulling into long silver threads, and the sky folds inward like a slowly turning page. A new sound rises. Not the forest's hush, not the distant call of night insects, not even the cosmic hum you felt while drifting among stars. This sound is smoother, rounder, continuous, a flowing. A soft, endless movement like breath stretched into eternity. Water, but not the water of crashing waves or the glowing shore where you walked earlier. This is quieter, older perhaps, like a story the earth has been telling since long before its first forests grew. As the scene clears, you find yourself standing beside a river at night. Its surface is almost perfectly still, except for the gentle lines that appear and disappear as the current moves beneath. Moonlight glides across the water, creating a silver path that seems to lead both forward and backward in time. The river feels familiar, as though it remembers you, even if you've never been here. A thin mist hovers above it, slow and delicate, catching the moonlight in soft halos. You step closer. When you kneel at the riverbank and trail your fingertips through the surface, the water bends around your hand with effortless kindness. It does not resist you, it does not rush away. It simply moves with you as though your presence fits naturally into its journey. You watch the ripples expand outward, circles widening into the night until they fade into perfect stillness again. This is how water remembers, not by holding the ripple forever, but by allowing it to pass. You take a breath, exhale slowly, and the river breathes with you. Some cultures once believed that rivers were alive, not metaphorically, but truly alive with moods and memories and a sense of direction. Standing here, you understand why the river before you carries more than water. It carries time, rain that fell just hours ago, snowmelt from distant mountains, droplets that once drifted in clouds over ancient forests, particles that traveled through soil older than human memory. In your cupped hands, if you chose to lift any of it, you would be holding a small piece of the Earth's long story. But tonight, you don't gather anything, you simply listen. The river's voice is a low, steady whisper, a conversation with stones, with currents, with the long shape of the land. And as you listen, you begin to sense that the river is teaching you something without words. Something about movement, about release, about how to continue without forcing anything. Water doesn't rush unless the terrain demands it. But it never truly stops either. It finds a way even when the path is blocked. Your own life has had such currents. Moments where you flowed easily, moments where you carved your way forward through tight spaces, moments where you pooled quietly and waited. The river honors all these shapes, and as you sit beside it, you begin to honor them too. Across the water, a cluster of reeds sway in the evening breeze. Between them, small glowing organisms, river plankton, pulse gently, painting tiny stars onto the water's edge. They drift in slow spirals, their light soft and sporadic, like memories surfacing just long enough to be recognized before slipping back into the deeper current. You follow their movement, and it brings you inward, toward memories you haven't visited in years. Not painful ones, not sharp ones, just the quiet kind. A night you stood in your childhood yard, listening to the distant hum of summer insects. A moment when someone you loved rested their head on your shoulder, and you breathed the same slow rhythm. A morning when sunlight came through the window in a way that made the whole room feel calm. These memories arrive softly, carried to you with the same gentleness as the plankton's light. They do not ask to be analyzed, they simply ask to be acknowledged. You let each memory float up, glimmer for a few seconds, then dissolve. The river carries them without judgment, and you feel lighter with each release. Suddenly a ripple forms near the center of the river, larger, deeper, as though something beneath the surface is rising to greet the night. At first, you think it might be a fish or a submerged branch shifted by the current. But then the shape lifts higher, and a broad, slow silhouette breaks the surface. A giant river turtle. Its shell glistens under the moonlight like polished stone. Its movements are unhurried, dignified, ancient. It swims toward you with a patience that feels almost ceremonial. Some turtles live longer than centuries. Some navigate rivers that once ran past cities now long forgotten. This one seems to carry the memory of the river itself on its back. When it reaches the bank, it pauses as though giving you time to take in its presence. Then it lifts its head just enough to look at you. There is no fear in its gaze, no urgency, just a deep, unspoken wisdom. Move slowly, move steadily, arrive when you arrive. You exhale, feeling tension slip from parts of your mind you hadn't realized were clenched. When the turtle slips back beneath the water, it leaves barely a ripple. A reminder that not every departure must leave a mark. Some exits can be gentle. Some endings can be soft. A cool wind moves past, sending small waves toward the shore. They touch your feet, a delicate kiss of cold, and then recede. You stand. The river seems to beckon you forward, not into its depths, but along its path. You follow a narrow stretch of shoreline until the landscape begins to change. The river broadens, the trees thin, and soon you reach a place where the river splits into numerous winding channels, an inland delta. Moonlight spills across the water in scattered ribbons, turning the landscape into a tapestry of shimmering silver. And then, Far away, just beyond the densest cluster of channels, you hear something. A low, distant rumble. Soft, continuous, like breath, but larger. It is the sound of the river meeting the sea. You walk toward it, drawn not by urgency, but by curiosity, wrapped in calm. As you arrive, the river opens into a wide estuary, its waters merging seamlessly with the dark immensity of the nighttime ocean. The two bodies of water blend without conflict, without hesitation. Fresh water surrendering to salt. Salt water welcoming what arrives. Opposites meeting gently. Balance without struggle. You watch the merging currents curl together like strands of silk, finding harmony in their differences. It feels like a lesson, one you don't need to decode, only witness. Some things are not meant to be forced into sameness. They can meet, mix, flow beside one another without losing themselves. You breathe this in, slowly, deeply, as though the air itself is teaching you how to hold contrasts with softness. The sky above the estuary begins to brighten, a pale band of blue, not daylight, just the faintest suggestion of dawn, gathers on the horizon. The stars dim, not disappearing, just fading back to where they came from. And the water glows with a gentle, pearly light. You stand there, feeling the humidity settle on your skin, the breeze warm and slow-moving, the world on the edge of a soft transition. You realize something quietly. You have moved tonight through oceans, through forest, through ancient groves, through cosmic dust, through the memory of water itself. But the journey never felt heavy. It felt like being carried. And now, in this estuary where rivers meet the sea, you sense the first signs of deeper rest approaching. Your breath is slow, your thoughts are gentle, your body feels supported by something larger than its own strength. The next part of your journey is already forming, a soft reflection that will lead you towards sleep as naturally as water flows toward the sea. The estuary rests behind you, its waters breathing their slow chorus, as river and ocean continue folding into one another with effortless grace. But as you stand on the shoreline, the horizon begins to soften, not brightening, not darkening, just loosening its edges the way thoughts do when they are ready to change shape. The faint hint of dawn fades again, leaving only a luminous darkness, a kind of velvet quiet that welcomes the mind inward. You take a breath in, and the act feels even easier now, as though the world has expanded just enough to make room for one more soft exhale. Tonight's journey has carried you far, but not outward, downward, toward layers of yourself you rarely visit when the day is loud and the hours move too quickly. Here, in this liminal space between water and sky, your thoughts begin to settle in ways you didn't know they could. You walk along the shoreline. Your footsteps make no sound. The sand seems to welcome each step, giving just enough to support you without resisting. The ocean is calm, a slow rise, a slow fall, the kind of movement that feels like a lullaby sung by something ancient and patient enough to wait for you to hear it. Above, clouds drift in thin layers, their edges glowing faintly with moonlight that hasn't quite decided to leave the stage. The world feels suspended, unrushed, like a held breath that no longer needs to brace for anything. You pause at the water's edge, the small waves coming forward just far enough to touch your toes before slipping back into their eternal pattern. Their movement feels familiar, comforting, like the part of you that has always known when to hold on and when to let go. As the waves continue their slow rhythm, you close your eyes, and with your eyes closed, you notice something soft unfurling inside your mind. A reflection, gentle and uninvited, but welcome. Not a thought, not a memory, but a sensation. A reminder that the wonders you witnessed tonight, the forests whispering beneath the soil, the jellyfish glowing like drifting lanterns, the whales singing through miles of water, the ancient being Pando breathing slowly, the stars birthing themselves in quiet corners of the universe, were not just scenes. They were mirrors. Mirrors of the quiet resilience living inside you. A resilience that has carried you through long nights, difficult seasons, and the subtle, heavy weight of unspoken worries you rarely allow yourself to name. The earth moves slowly, so do you. And that is not a flaw, it is a rhythm, a natural one. You inhale softly, your body loosening in places you didn't realize were tight. You let your shoulders sink, your jaw unclench, your breath lengthen. Nothing in you is required to be strong in this moment. Nothing is required to be certain. Nothing is required to be perfect. You are allowed to simply exist, the way starlight exists. Quietly, unassuming, yet undeniably present. When you open your eyes again, the world has shifted subtly. The shoreline has become a reflective plane of water, shallow and still, mirroring the sky with breathtaking clarity. It is difficult to tell where the ocean ends and the sky begins. You step into the shallow water, just enough for your feet to be submerged. The water is warm, as though it remembers the sunlight of a distant day. When you look down, you see your reflection, not sharp, not precise, but softened by the water's surface. Your features blur into something serene, unburdened, as though the river from earlier has already carried away the parts of you that felt heavy. You kneel and touch the surface lightly. Your reflection ripples, distorts, reforms, and in that reshaping, you understand something. You do not have to be perfect to be whole. Your life, like the reflection, changes shape with every movement, every choice, every shift in the wind. But beneath the ripples, beneath the distortions, there is a steady presence that remains, yourself, your essence, unaffected by the surface noise. You breathe this in as though your lungs were waiting for this truth. A soft, golden glow begins to appear on the horizon. Not sunrise, not yet. Just the earth, stretching its light slowly, carefully, the way someone might open curtains without waking a sleeping child. The glow reflects on the shallow water, turning the surface into a sheet of liquid gold. In the reflection, the clouds drifting above you begin to look like strokes of paint on a canvas that was made for your eyes alone. The scene is so gentle, so quiet, that it begins to soothe the deeper parts of you, the ones untouched by words or thoughts, and in this softened place a new reflection forms, not visual, not sensory, but emotional, a recognition that much of your life has been spent trying to keep pace with a world that moves faster than your heart prefers. But here, in this slow-moving landscape, you realize something tender. Your natural rhythm has always been enough. You do not need to chase clarity, it will come on its own. You do not need to force rest, it will rise naturally when you create space. You do not need to make meaning out of every moment. Some moments are simply meant to be felt. You stand again as the water reflects the first hints of warm twilight. The breeze touches your face, cool and soft, a reminder that the earth is taking care of its own rhythms without any help from you. You have permission to do the same. You begin walking along the reflective shore, your steps barely disturbing the surface. Where your feet land, faint rings of golden ripples expand outward, echoes of your presence moving gently into the wider world. As you walk, you think about the river and how it carried your memories without keeping them. You think about the jellyfish and how they begin again gale. Its song traveling oceans without ever rushing, a hymn of endurance wrapped in softness. And then quietly, you think about yourself. Not the self that has responsibilities, not the self that carries the weight of the day, not the self that moves through busy hours and long lists, but the self that is here, right now, breathing, resting, held by gentle scenery that expects nothing from you. This part of you is often forgotten beneath the noise of living, but tonight it rises like a soft tide, reminding you that you are more than your tasks, more than your productivity, more than the pace you feel pressured to maintain. You are made of stories that were here long before stress had a name. You are made of stardust, yes, but you are also made of quiet oceans, ancient forests, and cells that glow with tiny threads of light. You belong to a slow, gentle universe that knows how to rest even as it moves. The horizon brightens another shade, the golden reflection deepens. Your breath remains slow, steady, soft, and you sense that the next part of your journey is preparing to unfold. A moment of calm closure, a gentle settling, a transition towards sleep that will feel like returning home. The golden shimmer along the horizon stretches a little farther, as if the sky itself is slowly waking from a long, peaceful sleep. But it is not sunrise yet, only the soft suggestion of dawn, a quiet rehearsal of light touching the edges of the world without fully arriving. The water at your feet mirrors this glow, turning each small ripple into a thread of warm light that drifts outward like the beginning of a lullaby. The air around you thickens slightly with a comforting stillness, the kind of stillness that happens right before a sigh. You breathe in slowly, deeply, and the air feels cool as it fills your chest. You breathe out, and the world seems to exhale with you. You turn from the shoreline and notice a path forming behind you. Not a solid one, not carved into the sand, but traced in soft glimmers where your feet have passed. It's as though the earth is gently acknowledging your presence, marking each step with a glow that fades slowly, patiently, before blending back into the landscape. You follow the glimmering path, and it leads you inland to a quiet clearing that feels like the calm center of a dream. The clearing is surrounded by low shrubs and tall grasses that sway in a rhythm matching your breath. Overhead, the sky holds its soft blue-black tone, streaked with faint silver clouds that drift like brushstrokes in the hands of a patient painter. At the center of the clearing stands a single stone structure, old, weathered, and shaped by time. Not a monument, not a marker, just a smooth, flat-topped stone, resting atop two supporting slabs forming a small, gentle rise in the moonlit landscape. It looks like a place meant for pausing, for resting, for remembering the quiet parts of life that rarely speak loudly enough to be heard. You approach it and sit down, your body settling more comfortably than you expected. The stone is cool but not cold. It supports you the way a familiar bench does, solid, unmoving, offering its presence without conditions. From this elevated seat, the landscape spreads around you in wide, peaceful arcs. To the east, the reflective shallows glowing with hints of gold, still merging seamlessly with the dark ocean beyond. To the west, rolling hills covered in soft shadows, quiet and watchful like old companions. Above you, a sky shifting gradually from indigo to muted lavender. It is one of those rare moments where the world feels beautiful in a way that asks for nothing, only acknowledgement. You sit, breathing quietly, and something inside you begins to steady. A thought rises, gentle and unforced. I don't have to move quickly to belong in this world. The earth moves slowly, cycles, through ages. Your heart, your breath, your mind, they are allowed to move slowly too. This stillness is not a pause between real moments. It is a real moment. It is part of your story. You close your eyes and place a hand over your chest. Your heartbeat is slower now, softer. It moves with the same rhythm as the water you left behind, as the whale's song, as the ancient breathing of Pando, as the quiet glow within your cells. You begin to sense something deep. No matter where you go, no matter how the years unfold, the world will always have a quiet place waiting for you. A place like this. A place like any of the moments that softened you tonight. All you need is permission to arrive. And you are learning how to give yourself that permission with your eyes still closed. Your mind drifts to the idea of belonging. Not the belonging shaped by people's expectations or by accomplishments or by how well you have kept pace with the spinning world, but the belonging that is simply given because you are alive. The earth does not ask the rivers to flow quickly. It does not ask the trees to grow on a schedule. It does not ask the stars to shine for anyone. Life moves in its own timing, and you are allowed to move in yours. You open your eyes again and notice something shimmering in the air around the clearing. Thin particles, almost like drifting dust, glowing faintly as they descend through moonlit space. They land on your shoulders, your arms, your hands. They do not warm you, they do not chill you. They simply remind you that the world is full of tiny moments of beauty that exist whether or not anyone notices. A soft breeze rises, carrying the particles upward in a slow spiral. They swirl above you in loose, dancing patterns, forming shapes you recognize not with your eyes, but with your intuition. A jellyfish drifting, roots weaving beneath the earth, seeds waiting in silence, a turtle surfacing, a whale singing, a star forming, a river opening into the sea, your own breath, your own heart. Everything you've met tonight is connected in ways your mind does not need to grasp to understand. The swirling particles fade, but the sense of connection remains. Then, somewhere in the distance, the sky brightens again. Another gentle hint of approaching dawn. This time, a pale wash of rose-grey tints the lowest clouds, adding warmth to the cool blues of night. You feel something shift inside you. Not awakening, not alertness, just readiness. A readiness to rest even deeper. A readiness to let the world grow quiet inside you. This is the moment when reflection softens into release. You climb down from the stone, your steps light, your body loose and warm. You walk through the clearing, past the grasses that bow as though acknowledging your passage. When you reach the edge of the plain, you pause one last time to look back. The stone, the shimmer, the soft horizon, the sky opening gently overhead. All of it feels like a space within yourself, a place you could return to whenever life becomes too heavy. And perhaps without realizing, you whisper inwardly, "Thank you." A gratitude not for a destination, but for the ability to slow down enough to see the beauty in moving gently. You take one final breath here, a breath that feels like a quiet promise to yourself. Then you step forward, back toward the coastline where your journey will ease into its final descent towards sleep. The air grows warmer, the ground softens, and a deep calm settles over you like a velvet blanket. A new stillness awaits, a stillness that will guide you softly into dreams. The path curves gently back toward the coast where the air grows even softer, thick with salt, alive with the faint warmth of a world preparing to sleep beside you. You feel the ground beneath your feet becoming smoother, sandier, as though the earth itself is cushioning your steps. The distant hush of waves returns, slow and rhythmic, stretching across the shoreline like a pulse that has been beating long before your lifetime and will continue long after your worries fade. Everything tonight has led you here, to the meeting place between waking and sleep. You walk along the darkened sand, your shadow stretching out beside you in long, gentle shapes. The moon lays carefully at your feet. The water glimmers with low silver light, and though the waves continue their motion, they do so quietly, soothingly, as if they too are winding down with you. You pause and close your eyes. The night wraps around you like warm fabric, soft, protective, unhurried. Inside that darkness, you feel the faint echo of every quiet wonder you met tonight. The whispering networks of ancient trees, the blue glow of drifting jellyfish, the strength of seeds waiting centuries to awaken, the long, steady breath of Pando, the shimmer of biophotons within your own cells, the river carrying memories without keeping them, the gentle joining of fresh water and sea, the slow forming of distant stars, the calm recognition that your life moves in its own rhythm. They all settle within you, not as thoughts, not as lessons, but as a feeling, a soft, grounding presence that steadies your heart the way a hand might steady your shoulder. You open your eyes again, and the ocean welcomes you with a slow wave that glides far up the sand before retreating. It feels almost like a greeting, almost like the sea is saying, "You can rest now." You step closer until the water touches your ankles. And the temperature is perfect, cool enough to refresh, warm enough to comfort. Each wave that reaches you seems to take something with it, a residue of concern, a small knot of tension, a lingering heaviness you no longer wish to carry. And each time the water returns, it brings something back. Calm, ease, softness, permission. You breathe in deeply, and the salt air opens something within your chest. You breathe out, and your shoulders loosen completely, dropping to a place they haven't been all day. A place with no weight. The night is utterly quiet except for the rhythmic breath of the sea, and that rhythm begins to guide your own. In, gentle, slow, out, longer, softer, the kind of breathing that happens naturally when the world around you is safe and quiet and steady. A few steps ahead, you notice a smooth stretch of sand shaped like a cradle, a small hollow created by the wind and the pull of the tide. You walk toward it and sit down, the sand shifting slightly to accommodate your weight. Then you lie back. The sand is warm beneath you, holding your spine, your shoulders, your legs with the same gentle firmness as a well-loved mattress. You look up. The sky above is vast and untouched, a deep, blue-black canvas scattered with stars that blink in slow, steady rhythms. Some glow brighter, some are faint, some pulse in quiet patterns that look almost like breathing. You sink your breath to their shimmering, in, soft and slow, out, even slower. Your entire body begins to settle into a deeper form of rest. Not sleep yet, but the soft descent that leads toward it. As you lie there, the stars seem to draw closer, not physically, but emotionally, as though the universe itself is leaning in to keep you company. A soft thought arises. You are made of these stars. Every atom in your body was once part of something ancient, bright, vast. You are not separate from the beauty you see overhead. You are part of it, an echo of it, a continuation of it. This truth settles in your chest like warm light, not dramatic, but grounding. A reminder that you belong to a universe that has always been soft enough to cradle you. A breeze passes, carrying with it the scent of salt, the whisper of long waves, and the faint memory of every calm place you visited tonight. It moves across your body, cooling you gently, smoothing your thoughts until they become almost weightless. Somewhere nearby, a single bird calls once, a slow, peaceful sound cutting through the quiet like a note in a lullaby. Then silence again, complete, welcoming, undemanding silence. Your breath slows further, your pulse softens, your eyelids grow heavier with each passing moment. Sleep is coming, quietly, kindly, without force, just like everything else tonight. You close your eyes. In the darkness behind them, the world becomes warm and fluid. Shapes drift in and out, undefined but gentle, like the beginning of a dream. You hear the ocean breathing at your feet. You feel the sand holding your weight. You sense the entire earth beneath you, steady, ancient, capable of carrying your rest. Your mind begins to float, unmoored from effort, from planning, from remembering. All that's left is softness, soft breath, soft sand, soft waves.